All right, my friend, we are live and we are back for another bi-weekly State of the Month with the National Real Estate Post. And joining me today is Mr. Brian Stevens, and we are going to talk about what in the hell is going on in our industry. Brian, here's my list of topics, and usually I think we add a couple things to it, but I want to talk about the latest on what Fannie is doing to self-employed borrowers. I think that's important for everybody to understand, especially as it pertains to what we're going through with the pandemic. We just had an increase in loan limits. I think that's important to point out, and also contradictory, as you pointed out in the NREP video.
Yes.
Kind of, with what's going on.
Oh, that's great. Yes. It's a tale of two cities.
That's correct.
They were the best of times, they were the worst of times.
That's right. That's right. And then the last one, you know, I thought was really interesting. You guys pointed out at the end of this most recent video, which was sellers moving away from iBuyer programs, which is really awesome for real estate agents. And it makes sense. But it's an opportunity to capitalize, I think, for the industry. And so where do you want to start, my friend? The self-employed, the loan limits, or the iBuyer programs?
Well, let's start right at the top with the self-employed people. The self-employed people are oftentimes our small business owners. And I want to digress real quickly on this. So being out here in California, Oregon, Washington, New York, a lot of states are starting this re-shutdown. And, you know, we all have different places that we go to on a regular basis. One of my good friends who has COVID right now, he built up a wonderful business at a salon, made a ton of money at a salon. He's been shut down. They've scuttled his business, and he's on the verge of bankruptcy. So when we're looking at all of our small businesses, not only is the mortgage industry, and we'll talk about this in a second, not only are they going to be affected in terms of their ability to get a loan, but they're affected in terms of keeping their businesses open. So in the spirit of Christmas this year, or Hanukkah, or whatever, here's what I was thinking today. As I'm watching the news this morning and listening to these business owners, I don't care what side of the fence you fall on. If it's shut them down or don't shut them down, it doesn't matter. These businesses, people who we care for in our communities are hurting. So in the spirit of Christmas, if you have the opportunity, or if you're going to buy presents for people, why don't you get gift cards to some of these local businesses so you can keep money in your community, and then you can help these businesses hopefully weather this storm with your restaurants, your hair salons, your nail salons, whatever it is. If you're going to buy presents for somebody, shift what you're doing and say, hey, we're trying to keep money in our community here. We want to stay local. These businesses are hurting, so we want to help more than just each other out. This is the true meaning of Christmas. And oh, by the way, you should shop local, and you should also real estate local and give those gift cards. Keep that money in your community if you can do it. I think that's a great message to send out. Now, as far as, isn't that good?
That's excellent. If I was an agent, I'd be doing that with all my past customers. I mean, that would be just that right away. I'd be running out today.
If you have your aunt, you know, and you're going to get her a candle, or got, you know, a bunch of bathroom, you know, bombs, those bath bomb things that my wife seems to love. You know, let's just forego that. Get her something to her favorite restaurant, or maybe to a salon or a massage therapy, something local. When you send that money over to Amazon, you're shipping money out of your community at a time when we can't afford it. So change the gifts that you're giving and explain why you're changing it. This is the true spirit of Christmas, especially because there's more people hurting than just, you know, a lot of us in this industry. Now, for those same self-employed people, oftentimes those small business owners, Fannie and Freddie have come out and said, okay, you now have to have 3 months bank statements, okay? Not 2 months bank statements to support your profit and loss. Well, why is this a big change? It seems like 3 months, 2 months, it doesn't really matter, does it? Well, it kind of does. Look at the last 3 months in a lot of our hard-hit areas. You get shut down for a month, so your deposits on your bank statements are going to look horrible. You open up the next month, you're good again. You shut down the next month, you're bad again. So now if we take the sum of all 3 of those months and divide it by 3 to figure out what they're earning, it's not going to give an accurate representation as to what that business actually makes. So and we do this, by the way, to calculate a qualifying income. So say a business is going to net somebody $8,000 a month. But if you look at their last 3 months bank statements and you do an average of those 3, it's going to be $4,000 a month. So the qualifying income just got cut in half, and that person's ability to buy a house has just been kind of flushed down the toilet here. So this is a huge change right now, and yet another reason to try to support our small businesses. Now, there's not a whole lot we can do about this, from a ground level approach, But as a real estate agent, and especially the lenders who are watching this right now, make sure that your income qualification, the number that you're using for your income qualification, is ironclad, written off by an underwriter, and we know what these changes are because these changes are coming down the pipe here next week. This is happening right in front of us. The thing is, if we have some companies who aren't looking at the changes with Fannie and Freddie and they qualify based on 2 months bank statements, it can give you an inaccurate number and you can find yourself in contract right at Christmas time with somebody only to find out at the last minute that that deal is going to get denied, even if it's been approved. So make sure your income qualifications are ironclad, because I'll tell you, if somebody's looking, because this time of year, a lot of people are nesting. We nest for Christmas, and then you start thinking about houses after Christmas. But there are a few groups of people out there, right, who are thinking, I want to be in my new home for Christmas. That's my Christmas present. If you take that present away right before Christmas, that's not only a bad day for that client, but by extension, we know how these deals, when they go sideways, they're a bad day for the real estate agents, they're a bad day for the lenders, and the whole thing is just can become a mess. So make sure that your income qualification number for your self-employed people on Fannie and Freddie is ironclad, because changes are right in front of us.
So in summary, they're changing the rule from 2 months to 3 months. Would you say, so 2 months bank statements to 3 months, which will just spread out their already decreased potential income because of COVID? Would you say this is just kind of a glorified way of tightening the restrictions, tightening the guidelines, essentially, without really just saying it?
Oh, absolutely. Here's the thing. This would be a non-issue in a non-COVID year. You could make an argument you would need 6 months bank statements. You really could, because that's going to give you an accurate representation as to what that small business is actually making. The reason why they're pushing it out to 3 months is precisely because of COVID. This is intended to drive down the qualifying income, because we don't want somebody who's going to be in a foreclosure 6 or 9 months down the road if this pandemic continues. So yes, this is taking liquidity out of the market. This is tightening up our underwriting guidelines. There's a lot of lenders over there right now. There's a lot of lenders out there right now who might already have these overlays in place, because as we just saw from the FHFA, we just pushed our forbearance and our mortgage evictions all the way through January of next year. So nobody's getting foreclosed on. But keep in mind, if some business, either fully employed, partially employed, or self-employed, if they take advantage of these forbearances that are going through the holiday season, that becomes a non-payment, and that loan is technically in default. Okay, and so that could eventually find its way to be a buyback to the lender. So nobody wants this type of stuff. They're doing this precisely because of COVID. But the thing is, that's the action. The reaction on our end is we just have to be aware of these changes. And, there are some mortgage companies out there that run fast and loose and go directly by what the guidelines are and may not see this change in front of them. And it can come up on you after the change has been implemented. They could be trying to sell off a loan, or they could be, trying to get guidance on these things, saying, oh, no, you need to get another bank statement. And then you get that bank statement from 3 months back, and that was a COVID month, and their deposits are down. So for realtors, when you have a business account, and all of your income from that business is going to go into that business account. So what lenders will do, will look at all of your deposits to see how much money that business is bringing in. Well, if you have a COVID month where you're not getting the business, and we have to go look at that one to calculate your income, you could go from $10,000 in deposits down to $1,500 in deposits. We just don't know. So we have to understand what these numbers are, because failing to calculate income properly is one of the big ways that loans will go sideways at the end. And it's always with self-employed people, always with self-employed. W-2 people, you get your income, and you go ahead and divide it. Military people, you get your rank, the time served, you go to your spreadsheet, you figure out exactly what they make. Self-employed people could be a little bit more complicated. Yeah, so this is important.
And I think it's important. So if you're a lender, this is obvious, like pay attention. And if you look at your pipeline, if you're in leadership, look at your pipeline of your branch, of your company. Anybody who is self-employed that may not be closing till after Christmas, till after the first of the year, this could affect them. If you're a realtor, be cognizant of this, right? Not every lender is on top of this kind of stuff. Not every lender subscribes. Believe it or not everyone subscribes to the National Real Estate Post, which is crazy, by the way, but they don't. And so if you're on this call today, if you're watching us on Facebook, you could take, if you have a buyer who's self-employed that this could impact, go ahead and get out ahead of it. Be proactive. call your lender and say, hey, are you aware of this? Is this going to affect their net income? Is this going to affect qualifying? Get out ahead of it. I love it, Brian. Let's move ahead to a more positive note, which is also kind of contradictory, which is the increased loan limits for 2021. Tell us about that.
Okay, so the tale of two cities, the tale of two worlds, the best of times, the worst of times. We are seeing businesses getting shut down. We're seeing unemployment go up. We're now looking at another $1 trillion bailout, which is trillion. Yeah, just another trillion. What's another trillion? These numbers.
How many zeros is that?
Oh, well, we've talked about this before. The difference between a billion and a trillion. A billion seconds is 37 years. A trillion seconds is 37,000 years.
Wow.
It's insane. So we have all this bad data that's coming out, yet we still have today, as we sit here, interest rates have hit another historic low, on average 2.71 for your Fannie 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 0.7 of a point. So we see some bad stuff going on, but yet the housing market has maintained the shield against all the negativity as property values continue to increase. So what Fannie and Freddie and HUD ultimately do is they're going to look at property values either going up or going down, and then they're going to adjust their maximum loan amounts to stay relevant and pertinent in the market. So if you're in a high cost area right now, your FHA loans have gone up by $56,000. $56,000. Why is this important? Because it's easier to qualify for an FHA loan than it is your conforming stuff. Your loan limits have gone up on average $25,000 across the board. Our loan limits, they were $331,760. They're now $356,362. That gives you $25,000 more purchasing dollars. So if you have somebody who maybe has a couple blemishes on their credit and they can't qualify for a conforming loan, but they have the income, now they have the income, but their credit's a little, dicey. Well, now you can go ahead and shift that from a conventional loan over to an FHA loan and take that from somebody who's in your pipeline to somebody who's closing a deal for you. In the high cost areas, $50,000. It's a huge number. So again, just like we said before, you're going to have to look at your pipeline that you have right now to reevaluate those self-employed people. Well, this is also another opportunity for loan officers to check out their pipeline and find out if you can move somebody from your conventional loans over to your Govy loans. And for your real estate agents, this is a great time for you. Those clients that you're looking for where you couldn't find that house because they were $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 out of what they wanted. They're going to stay on the fence. This is a great time for you to sit down with your lender again and say, hey, are we back in the game? Because they just increased our FHA loan limits. And the third part I would say on here is for lenders is even if you can't get somebody for your self-employed people, even for your FHA people, I want to make sure that everybody's looking at all the great Alt-A stuff that's going on out there right now. There's great Alt-A companies who are offering some really imaginative products. So make sure that you're qualifying with like Oaktree and different Alt-A companies to see they might have an option for you. And I'll tell you what, some of the rates on those are going to be very competitive with what FHA is offering and what Fannie and Freddie are offering.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's excellent. And again, with the loan limits going up, it just means it's going to be easier for your buyers to qualify where now they may not have to do a jumbo. They may, again, if conforming or conventional was too difficult, now they can shift. So this has been very important to know, which kind of segues in a way, which you mentioned with sale prices escalating and skyrocketing, that sellers are moving away from the iBuyer platforms, which, the iBuyer platforms are doomsday to the real estate world, right? Yeah. I'd like to talk about a couple of things. So one, the obvious, right? The prices are escalating. Why would you sell for less? Let's talk about that a little bit. But then number two, do you feel like this is just a temporary thing and the iBuyers are just going to kind of sit in the wings and then just come back in once we kind of get past all of this? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the iBuyer thing should have always been a temporary thing. Here's the reason why. iBuyers are pawn shops. They're just pawn shops. That's all they are. They're pawn shops. They're opportunists. Okay. So according to some analytics I read, though, what I have on my hard drive that have been sent to me from people all across the country, but the analytics are saying that the iBuying companies are buying properties at 95% of their value. Now, your market could be different than my market, But I'm seeing houses listed here, and there's not a single darn house that's selling at listing price. They're all selling at above listing price. So why would I sell my house at 95% listing price when I can sell it for 5% over listing price? So I think a lot of people are getting wise to the fact that real estate is still doing good in spite of all the negative news that we're hearing in our economy right now. And 5%, I mean, my God, you get yourself a $500,000 house, we're talking about $25,000. Would your seller would your seller rather them have $25,000 or give that $25,000 to a company that's located in Northern California or Seattle? I mean, this one's kind of a no-brainer. On top of that, and I don't think it's a big part, but all these iBuying companies, you buy low, sell high. That's it. They charge more. We've talked about this. They charge more than any traditional real estate agent. So somebody who's selling a house is really taking it on both ends. I'm going to take a bath in terms of what I'm getting for my house, and then on the cost of that house, they're going to charge me on average 7.5% commission, and then fees that I've never seen before. When you look at the fees, it comes out to about 10%. So I'm going to pay 10% in fees, where I'd pay, let's say, with a real estate agent between 5 to 7%, and I'm floating another $1,000 in there because you might, have concessions, but you're going to have those concessions with the iBuyers as well. So I'm losing 5 here and I'm losing 10 here. It doesn't pencil. So I'm hoping that people who are selling their houses are looking at the state of the housing market and the fact that it's doing great. They're getting wise to it. But understand this, since COVID started, they are down 83%. 83%. That means that traditional real estate agents are taking over the market once again. Here's what I can only hope, because as I said before, a girl can only dream over here, that real estate agents get wise to what was in front of us over the past 6 months and start taking our business a little bit more seriously. Because, all right, I'm going to say something. I hope this is okay. But, I go out with my job. I called 25 real estate agents last Thursday. 2 picked up. 2. I had 2 call back, but those numbers are not great. Okay. So what's happening
what was the exercise?
It was for listing booster accounts. Okay. But what we're calling up and say, hey, I got something I'd like to talk to you about. Could you please give me a call back? Okay. I left it ambiguous, but it's even like, what if I called up and said, hey, I got $100,000 I need to ship to somebody today? What if I said, hey, I've got $25,000 I need to ship to somebody today? $25,000. Would that be a call that you should pick up? Now, on these listing booster ones, what we also do is we will create the lead. We will generate the lead. We will market it, generate the lead. We will call the lead. We will convert the lead, and we will hand that off to a real estate agent, somebody who is ready, willing, able, and wants to buy a house right now. That out here in California is a $25,000 check. We've had real estate agents who aren't picking up $25,000 check calls. So I don't want to bag on that. I'm just saying, as we're going forward, I think we just need to be a little bit more astute about our jobs. And by the way, real estate agents, listen, don't get mad at me for saying this, because I guarantee you there are agents who are picking up their phones and they're picking off deals that you could otherwise get if we were just a little bit more disciplined in our approach to our job. But with the iBuying platforms, understand this. They have massive multi-billion-dollar budgets. They've all gone public. Do you realize that the IPO, do you realize that the valuation for Zillow right now is $26 billion? Zillow is worth more than every major real estate company in the entire country right now. Oh, by the way, so is Opendoor right now as we sit here today. And what's the reason for that? Well, it's because 1, they're a technology platform and people want to invest in that. But 2, Opendoor has people who are going to pick up every single phone call that comes in. That's what they do. So if we want to fight against iBuyers getting a stronghold and charging our clients more money, let's batten down the hatches and make 2021 a great year for traditional real estate agents, because it is the better option, not only for the agent, the client, but also your communities.
Yeah, it sounds so simple, but you're right. I mean, as I was thinking through when you were talking about that exercise, I am going to go back to it because it is very simple. If I'm a real estate agent, because listen, in fact, I don't answer my phone if I don't recognize the phone number, but I am not actively originating. I'm not actively selling anymore. If you want me, if you need me, leave me a message. I'll call you back. Now, I probably wouldn't return that message, Brian, because I would know I know if it's vague, it's a sales call, but let me digress. If I'm a realtor, if I'm selling, every phone call could be an opportunity. So answer the damn phone at any cost. I would agree with you on that one.
Right.
I want to say this too. When it comes to we're talking about, you're selling your house for overlisting, right? And the iBuyers are fading at the moment, which is phenomenal. You and I've talked about this many times. When it comes to like creating content and being visible on social media, guys, you should be creating content around this fact every single week. Like, don't stop.
Yep.
Remember, not everybody's seeing your content all the time. So continually remind your audience in different ways. Don't say the same thing over and over again. Remind them how right now is such an insane opportunity to sell your home for more dollars than you may ever get. It's such a great opportunity. If I'm a real estate agent, I would be jamming that into my audience's heads, because you're going to pick up sellers who just subliminally like, maybe we should consider it. Let me go ahead and call Sally and see what's the number. If the number's high enough, I might move. And so yeah. I would implore agents, like, use that tactic. It's so simple.
Yeah. I want to add to that real quickly. And every agent knows this. Like I said, we all know things. Do we do it? That's a different thing. I know how to run a marathon. I ain't going to do it. Right. Okay. So there's an agent who comes into our office on a regular basis, and he's kind of a little quirky, and he's not like a traditional great salesperson. Super nice guy, but you just wouldn't peg this guy as a top producer. And again, love him, not knocking him, but he's always got like 4 or 5 or 6 listings, and I'm like, what is he doing? And you know what he always has is just listed, just sold. He lives by just listed, just sold. He'll pound social media with just listed, just sold. He'll tag all of his past clients. He'll tag his friends. He'll create flyers. He'll canvass the neighborhoods, just listed, just sold. You accomplish a couple of things with that. 1, visibility. 2, marketing. But 3, it's to dovetail on what you just said, Jeff, is it's messaging. Because how many people out there who are looking at the news today, I'm watching the Today Show, death, famine, chaos, shutdown, death, it's like, oh my God. So there's a lot of people who don't realize still what's going on with real estate, because we have all these mixed messages. So when you're putting out this just listed, you're not only marketing, you're also messaging. And when you're putting out these just sold, you're messaging, you're getting it out there to people that, hey, if you're thinking about moving, this still might not be a bad time. And check this out. So I don't know if you just heard this, but I just heard it today that Goldman Sachs is looking at leaving New York. Okay. Wow. They're going to go down to Florida. People are moving to different areas right now. But these high cost areas, everybody's doing Zoom. People who can work remotely. It's like, I don't need to stay here anymore. We just saw that Hewlett Packard, who started the Silicon Valley, the highest cost area in the entire country, the foundation, the bedrock, they're going to Austin, Texas. They're taking billions of dollars out of California. So people are moving right now. Okay. And there's a lot of clients and consumers who are there's a lot of sellers who are thinking about selling, but they just don't know if it's the right price. And I'm looking at this like Palm Coast right now is one of the best markets for people to move into. The cost of living down there, the cost of living in Palm Coast is down 13%. Johnson City, Tennessee, which is beautiful, down by 12%. Huntsville, Alabama, I've never been there, 7.4%. Casper, Wyoming, I don't know if you like to ride horses, 8%. But if you start to look at some, I'm not the only one who's looking at these markets right now. So when you put out your just listed and your just sold flyers and social media, you are marketing and you are messaging. Best practices, way too easy to do. And I'm seeing this guy, and it's always good for another listing. He's always got 5 listings in a market where your average real estate agent doesn't even have 1.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how we can drive it home any more than what we're doing. So with all of that said, that covers our 3 topics. Is there anything else that you think that is important that we need to touch on today before we wrap up?
Honestly, guys, just be safe, man. It's the holiday season. People are going to start nesting. That's not an excuse for you not to keep your marketing up. That's not, this is actually, we tend to nest just like our clients are doing, but this is a great time. It's an easy time for you to reach out to your past clients, your family and your friends, and just see how they're doing. One of my friends I just told you, who I grew up with, his name's Dave Morrell. He's down in Wally Creek, California. I've known him my entire life. I was cooking dinner last night for my kids. And he calls, and so I pick up. He goes, dude, I've been calling you all day. I said, my phone hasn't rang. He goes, well, you need to get a new server. And he called me like 3 times a day because he's bored out of his mind because he's quarantined because he's got COVID. Doesn't have any symptoms, thank God, but he's got a quarantine. There's a lot of people who are feeling isolated, stuck in their house. I've never in my entire life had 3 phone calls from David. So this is a great time. There's a lot of people that we know that it's just the holiday season, the state of our country right now. This is a great time for marketing and reaching out and just seeing how people are doing. Just say, hey, you know what? We always need to have an icebreaker. Don't make it a sales call. Just call these people up and say, hey, this is Brian Stevens. Haven't spoken to you in 6 months. A lot of crazy stuff going on. And I just want to know if you and your family are doing okay. It's a great icebreaker. And then you can let that conversation naturally flow. If you time block that for an hour every day, you're doing a great service to your friends, your family, and your past clients. It's what we all should be doing, even if you're not in sales. But the difference is we could actually pick up business in the process of doing that.
I love it, man. Guys, this is simple, very simple.
Very simple.
Today's message is relatively short, but hopefully effective for you guys. Brian, as always, thank you so much. I will see you, what is today, the 7th? We'll see you on the 20th. We'll see you the week of Christmas.
Right on.
So I look forward to seeing you then, and we'll hopefully have some good stuff to talk about.
Right on. Everybody, stay safe.
Take care, man.